I want to start by asking about the defendants a little bit more. There is a lot of audience interest in that question. Who's representing the defendants? Are any of them pro se? And who's financing the defendants?
All great questions. So a number of them are pro se. Matthew Heimbach.
And it might be worth explaining what that means for non-lawyers.
Sorry. Yeah, I appreciate that. A number of them don't have lawyers. They are representing themselves in this case. Matthew Heimbach, Elliot Klein, Robert Ray, Chris Cantwell. So far, there may be more, but so far, a number of them represent themselves, which, as you might imagine, presents its own challenges. The rest of them are represented by 4 or 5 lawyers who either represent individuals or groups, or a number of individuals and groups. So there's a lot of personnel on the other side that creates challenges to deal with logistically. In terms of who's financing it, by and large, it appears that they are raising money and using this case, among other things, as a kind of rallying cry for it's sort of a continuation of their general theory that that white people are oppressed and that the world is against them, and the government is is attacking white people. And so so they raise money, a lot of crowd funding on the internet. There are sites called things like GoFundMe, and similarly cleverly named platforms where they have been raising money. But that's, and I will say, as is not entirely surprising, a number of their lawyers are also true believers. One of whom said that he took on the case to oppose the Jewish influence in America. One of them actually advertises himself as Nazi lawyer. And so they are represented, not all of them, but a number of them who have lawyers are represented by lawyers who are believers in their cause.
Have any of the plaintiffs expressed remorse, or do you think the case has prompted anyone to rethink their behavior?
When you say
the plaintiffs or the defendants?
I'm sorry, defendants.
Yeah. Do you want,
I'm happy to start and kick it over to you, Amy. But the short answer is yes, we think. There certainly have been defendants that have expressed a kind of reformation in their views. I guess I can't say anybody has expressed remorse. There have been a couple of defendants who have purported to leave the movement and are now speaking out to some degree against white nationalism and hate generally. There are 2 in particular. I have not heard either one express remorse. And I will say that generally, to the extent there's any sort of bad feeling about what they've done or how they've spent their lives, it is generally articulated as trying to help other white nationalists from throwing their lives away by getting arrested for acts of violence. I have yet to hear any of them express any sort of remorse for the pain and trauma they have caused by the hate and their violence. But there have been 2 that have purported to leave the movement, and there are a host of others that are in difficult financial straits because of this case. So we think it's had an effect. I guess it remains to be seen how much.
Yeah. Well, I think I think I would say a few additional things there, and I totally agree with Mike that we have certainly not seen any remorse even from those who now claim to be leaving the white nationalist and white supremacist movement. There are a few things to note. There are some defendants who have not renounced the movement in any way, shape, or form, but have talked about the impact of this case and their ability to operate. Richard Spencer has said that the case is, quote, totally detrimental to his ability to operate. League of the South, one of the hate groups we're suing, said they were unable to open a new headquarters because of the case. We mentioned earlier Elliot Klein, who also goes by Eli Mosley, who was thrown in jail and sanctioned thousands of dollars in the case. So they're seeing very real financial and legal consequences already. Two defendants who were sanctioned last year, Jeff Scoop and Matthew Heimbach, have since claimed that they are leaving the white supremacist movement. Now, it's not on us to be the ones to decide whether they have truly abandoned their beliefs, because that's not what this case is about. This case is about their actions in August of 2017 and the planning that led up to it. But I do think that it's worth noting that if Mr. Scoop and Mr. Heimbach truly want to abandon the white supremacist movement and change, there's a way to do that, which is to comply with our plaintiff's discovery requests and the court orders and stop lying and tell the truth about what happened in Charlottesville in 2017. They have not done that. And so by not doing that, you know, I think it's fair for us to say anything less is a sham, and that in a country like this, which is predicated on the rule of law, they have a responsibility to comply with court orders, comply with the law, cooperate with the case, and take responsibility for what they did. And so while the fact that they have, seemingly renounced their ways is important and perhaps indicative of the impact the case is having alongside some of the other examples I gave, we also believe that they and all the defendants must be held accountable for the violence they planned and executed in Charlottesville 2.5 years ago.